So good morning, everyone, and welcome to ERSA's Greater Manchester Employment Support Forum. I have the honour of chairing this meeting, so looking forward to what should be a packed agenda with lots of interesting topics. Quick intro, my name's Greg Bate. I'm the National Strategic Partnership Manager of the Seetec Group. Just before we kick off, a little bit of housekeeping, if we may. So if you're not presenting or speaking, if I can ask you to please put yourself on mute, just to avoid any background noise or interference. What I would also probably suggest is if you are not presenting or speaking, it might be best if you could turn your cameras off for the time being, just to help us with bandwidth and connectivity. And also allow us to focus on those that are presenting, and any information that's on the screen, that'd be much appreciated. With regards to questions, what I'd suggest is if we can allow all our speakers and presenters to do what they need to do to speak and present, we will then allow some time at the end of each presentation just for questions. And we will try questions via the Teams virtual hand. So once the presenter or speaker's finished, if you can put your Teams hand up, and then we can come to you. And then obviously, by all means, obviously take yourselves off mute and put your camera on, and you can pose that question. So I think that's it for housekeeping. Hope that's okay with everyone. I'd say we have got a packed agenda today. So you'd be pleased to know there's not too much from me, but just a quick recap really on the purpose of this forum and why we're all together today. So this forum, I believe, has now been running for nearly 7 years and very much came about through the collaboration of ERSA and the combined authority. And the aim of this forum is really to give providers a stronger voice in matters affecting services that they provide, and that's to ultimately improve the quality of the overall service as well. So the focus on this forum is very much on connecting the employment support provider network across Greater Manchester, and really championing and promoting that collaboration and working together as well. In terms of the network itself, if you don't know, it's made up of local providers, it's made up of colleges, policymakers, local commissioners, and it really does provide a platform for updates on all things employability, updates on new and future opportunities within our industry and within our sector. Also a great opportunity for some key local updates, as well as updates on different service offers and what is happening within and around Greater Manchester as well. So in terms of today, please do very much get involved. Please do have your say. Please do ask those questions where there's opportunities to do so, so that everybody comes out with the information that they require. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the first two speakers. So we've got Sharon Kelly and Gemma Marsh from the Greater Manchester Combined Authority. And I believe they're going to provide us with an eagerly anticipated update on Multiply and Shared Prosperity Funds. So Sharon, I think you're first up. So over to you, please.
So thanks, Greg. You are just stuck with me. Sharon's on a cruise. So I am Gemma Marsh. I am Director of Education, Skills and Work at the Combined Authority. And I am currently also seconded into number 10 to provide some kind of local advice, which is incredibly interesting at this moment in time. So for those, I mean, you will know what the Combined Authority do. Within my directorate, we have everything from careers and life ready all the way up to over 50s and welfare support and everything in between. So that's kind of us. As you've said, UK SPF I will cover first, and then I'll cover Multiply, if that's all right. And I think there is, you know, real opportunity within the people and skills element of this for you as providers. And it is about trying to do something different. And I know every fund says the same thing, but you know, it's the aim of UK SPF was to free up our kind of ties from anyone that's dealt with European Social Fund before. And to be able to kind of build that within a place. So place is incredibly important, and that remains from previous government to this government. in terms of the way forward. They have a real kind of value around places know their areas better, they know their people better, they know their businesses better. So that's where we should be kind of driving forward. So I will just do the, you know, monumental thing of sharing my screen. I really don't like it when I can't see people's faces. Okay, here we go. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly kind of run through just some of the background. I am conscious that I really do want to get some questions, but I will open it up. So what is it? Because again, actually, if you're not massively close to this bit of the agenda, you could actually miss this. So it is it's a replacement for ESF. It's £2.6 billion worth of funding, and they have been very clear. So it actually sits with the Department for Levelling Up and Housing and Community. So DLUC are the lead on this, and it was obviously a Gove initiative, which obviously he isn't there now, but Simon Clark has picked up as Secretary of State within DLUC, and is still kind of clear that UK SPF is absolutely critical to places and to levelling up, which is fantastic to hear. It's split into 3 investment priorities, so communities in place, local business, and then I've highlighted there the people and skills bit. Now, there was a decision made from national government, not within Greater Manchester, around, because we had legacy ESF, that actually the people and skills bit would come a little bit later in the programme. We all fought very hard for this to not happen, because of, we all know that if you are dealing with ESF, there are, you stop your starts earlier than when your programme finishes. So there will be a kind of a trail off, and we are looking at in the Combined Authority around how do we make some of the other funding work a little bit harder so that our people and places are not kind of falling through the net, and that's really critical to us as we go through. So in the first instance, we've got the kind of the boost in pride in place. Oh, hold on. Is anyone else having a problem seeing the presentation?
No, I
Greg?
can see it. Okay, Gemma.
You can see it.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
I think we.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. Turn it off. Turn it on, and then we might go. I've got a hand up. Max, can you not see it? All right, hold on. Right, there's a couple of people, Greg, that can't see it. What would you like me to do? Hit the reload button. Yeah. Strange how some people can't see it.
I think you should keep going, and we'll send them out later.
That's what I was going to suggest. Yeah, if
sorry,
we just go through them. Yeah.
I'll keep quiet.
Brilliant. So, like I say, it's split across people and place, local business, and people and skills, and we're taking a kind of incremental view, because obviously we can't do everything and flood the market at one time. So the beauty with, depending on how you look at it, with the people and skills going in the latter areas, we've got an opportunity for events like this, for market testing, to really gather the evidence, because it's not a huge amount of money. You know, it doesn't fill the void of ESF. But what we want to absolutely be clear on the people and skills side is, what is it doing and what does it need to do? So if we've only got this much money, how do we make sure that we are targeting? And I think this comes also with what national government is doing. So again, you know, for all of you that work with DWP, we know that the kind of plan for jobs is only till 2024. So we need to have a think about what can this do and how can it add as much value as it possibly can to a place. And then what is the national kind of stance? Because for anyone that's dealt with ESF, I think we had this situation where everything clattered up against everything else, and it wasn't ideal. Hopefully with this, we get to kind of take away some of that duplication and make it easier for our businesses and our people. So that's kind of where we are, and we are genuinely interested in what works, what needs to be different, the groups that we feel are kind of furthest away, particularly in that kind of inactivity. What are things like AEB not doing? What can't it do? We genuinely want to understand that. So we have got a little bit of time. Obviously, as you would imagine in Greater Manchester, and it's part of the fund as well, the carbon neutrality and the tackling inequalities. Now, tackling inequalities kind of comes hand in glove with the people and skills bit. And then the carbon neutrality, you know, how are we kind of supporting the contribution to GM's 2038 net zero in the programs that we run and we manage? So just flag that, because I think for us particularly, and for anyone that's worked with the combined authority, what you know, things like social value, we've always put a really high value in terms of our scoring on social value. These are the other enablers. These are the other things that will underline some of this funding. So as we've said, I'll just kind of run through this bit. It is incremental. We've got a bit of time with people and skills. We want to gather the evidence. That's pretty much the key message. And you as providers, particularly on the work, you know, and the work side, we want to understand where are the gaps, what does it look like, how does it like kind of feel in a place, how do we support and work with our voluntary sector to reach those individuals that potentially don't always come. So again, you know, have a think about that. So these are the interventions. I know, I'm not sure everyone can see this. What we tried to do with the interventions was, there is a whole list in the UK SPF guidance. And what we've wanted to try and do in Greater Manchester was be quite broad, so that we didn't have loads and loads of individual interventions, because actually when you read the guidance, one could clatter up against the other. So what we wanted to try and do was think, right, what do we need to do as Greater Manchester? So we've got interventions around supporting economic inactivity, interventions around basic skills, and interventions about tailored support to help people into employment. So everything can come under that, be that, you know, kind of sector specific, be that furthest away, be that fill in the gaps within places around economic inactivity. So that's kind of broadly where we got to. And like I say, we will be coming out and we will be trying to understand how we start to shape this, because I think the routes to market will be different. So there might be some kind of evidence that suggests we need to just focus in on a specific cohort, for example, or we need to do something pan-GM. This will look and feel slightly different based on what the evidence is suggesting, because obviously £22 million in the last year for people and skills, it's a huge ambition, that, and we have been forced down that kind of that avenue. However, 22 million over 10 areas doesn't go very far if we're trying to do everything that national government and places need. So let's just kind of think that through. So like I say, you will probably get sick of the sight of me. I want to come out to, obviously, providers, events like this, localities and wider stakeholders, just to really start to gather this evidence and start to understand where the gaps and the opportunities are. So in that respect, hopefully I can come back when we start this. So we're doing the data and the evidence gathering over October and November. If there are things that you want to share with me, by all means, kind of whiz them over. And then what we'll start to do is the design and the build of the programme. And like I say, you know, if we're not going live until 2024, we've got a little bit of time, but we want to make sure that we're in a really strong position, and we're in a really strong position with the evidence that we've got to make other things work harder and potentially fill some of the gaps that ESF kind of leaves. So just bear that in mind. So one other element of UK SPF, and not to a mildly complicated kind of fund, you've got kind of UK SPF, which looks at those three investment priorities. So you've got people and skills here. That's only hit there in the kind of latter year. What you've also got running underneath that sits with the Department for Education, not with DLUC in UK, is the Multiply programme. And this was previous chancellors' kind of ambition around a numeracy programme. So Multiply sits underneath, but it's still attached to UK SPF, but it sits with the Department for Education. But it also sits with us as the kind of managing authority. And what we've tried to do is really gather the information around, for anyone that's an adult education budget provider or who does community learning or actually builds some of that into their kind of work programmes, this has to be additional. So we're really looking at how can we reach those individuals that are not in that space, that don't rock up to a provider or a college to do a GCSE resit or to do some functional maths. This is how do we start to use the kind of the reach into the voluntary sector, the kind of all of the reach that you as providers have to get those individuals engaged and get them into the system. So we're just looking at ways of delivering that at this moment in time. So we've done quite a bit of kind of market testing in this space. There'll be more to do. But that's the premise of it. You've got to keep that in mind, because obviously AEB is a huge fund and it does an awful lot of numeracy. This is something that somebody else has decided that's landed in an area, and we need to make sure that it adds value and works with as opposed to clattering up against. Routes to market will vary again because there are so many different providers that we need to reach these individuals. So it might be grant funded, there will be a procurement process, and for those that don't know about the FPS, I'm assuming it's been here about 100 times, the flexible procurement system within the combined authority. You know, a lot of that information will go out through there. So we have the chest, you know, you need to be kind of keeping an eye on that. But there's obviously collaboration and supply chain. So we will start to create some of the environment for that as well. And then this is what our planned activity is. So we're looking at, you know, we know it's, we know it within this space, there is real capacity need for numeracy. So we know within colleges, within providers, you know, we haven't got enough within that workforce. So how do we build that capacity? How do we do it in a different way so that we can reach people? So we want to invest in that, and that was absolutely key to kind of going forward with this, because what we didn't want to create was a robbing Peter to pay Paul. All right, so you can come from over here and I'll leave that, and everybody else then hasn't got the capacity to do the maths within their kind of institution. We're looking at kind of pan-GM programs again, because what makes sense across Greater Manchester, you know, let's do that kind of at a scale. But again, how does that look and feel different to AEB? How do we enhance what's already there? Because we know that some individuals that access maths, you know, it isn't just a straight classroom. They need some wraparound support, and naturally as welfare providers, you will always see that. So actually, how do we enhance some of that? And then the main one, which will come a little bit kind of later, is how do we really target? So going back to what I've said about UK SPF, how do we make sure that we are really kind of focusing on those individuals that potentially are nowhere near a provider or nowhere near a college? They sit within a community, and we need to really engage and reach them in a different way. And it's a different model. So again, we really want to understand kind of what that looks like, how that looks, and we will spend the time kind of gathering that evidence. So that's me, Greg. It's a bit of a whistle-stop tour, and obviously we will share this presentation. But like I say, UK SPF, it's not the kind of silver bullet of ESF, but it does give us an opportunity. It gives us a little bit of time because of the way that government has set it up around that people and skills bit. We want to gather, we want to understand, we want to do something slightly different. We want to make our other funds work harder as well, and then multiply as a kind of enabler. And one thing I will just say finally on multiply is, as you would expect, we are looking at ways that it just isn't just numeracy, because actually if you've reached an individual, you want to do digital, you want to do literacy, you want to kind of wrap just support around them. But again, multiply is very much a numeracy program. So again, how do we enhance? How do we use devolution to add value? So that's me. I'm happy to take any questions. There's a lot of information that's just been thrown at you there, but I'm more than happy to kind of come back as well, Greg, because in terms of sucking the information out of this group, that's genuinely what we need.
No, that was fantastic. Thank you, Gemma. A really good update there, and what I think this forum's been looking for. So yeah, as Gemma mentioned, opportunity for questions. We're normally not quiet bunch on this forum. Don't know if everyone's just digesting things or taking it in. Marilyn, you've got your hand up. Can we come to you, please?
Hi, Gemma. Hopefully you can see me now. Sorry about that. Yeah, I've got a couple of questions, and one is around what more does the GMCA intend to do to allow diverse-led suppliers like ourselves? So I'm heading up the Manchester Innovation Activities Hub. We've been successful in that. We've partnered with the growth company, and we're now delivering EV skills boot camps. We wouldn't have been allowed through the procurement process. We're a new centre opening in January to apply on our own behalf. So you're really dependent on finding a partner who will partner with you. But I think much more needs to be done, because especially if we're going to reach the kinds of people who are excluded and reach into communities, that really needs to be a top priority. So how can we make the procurement system much more inclusive, much more flexible, or even partnering? And the second one is just to say as well that we've, and the we is the other company I'm involved in, the Blair Project, have received funding from Innovate UK to create an augmented reality app where young people will learn how to convert petrol go-karts into fully electric e-karts, but it uses gamification, and they'll be able to take a motor apart and learn about battery technologies and learn about numeracy and data. So actually you're teaching numeracy and data in a way that has relevance to the task, because often that's what people say, they don't know why they're learning this, but actually this is about making it relevant. So I'm really just flagging up that there are other innovative companies like ourselves who are out there. We are actually developing these alternative methods of delivery, like with the augmented reality app, which will be available on a smartphone. And what more can the GMCA do to support inclusion within this sector in terms of providers?
Yeah, thanks, Marilyn. And it's a kind of really close to my heart at this moment in time. So we understand that the FPS, the flexible procurement system, isn't for everybody. And I hope, you know, people understand that we've also got kind of constraints and requirements as public funders to make sure that we are kind of ticking all of the boxes. However, that said, we are really keen to look at flexibilities within the FPS around, one, how do we start to kind of create that marketplace for some of those smaller providers? Because what we done a huge amounts of work with the voluntary sector around, well, what puts you off? And actually, is it our model that puts you off? Is it the prime model and actually you don't feel that you're fitting into that? So we genuinely are in listening mode, and we want to do some work across the sector to gather that information, because I think sometimes what funds do is they drive you to a certain kind of route to market. And we know that, and you know that as well. And we try and be as flexible as possible. However, it means that we don't get the people and the businesses and the providers that we're trying to reach. So there does need to be a change. The FPS will still stand. I think we will definitely try and put kind of more resource into trying to understand how we get kind of more voluntary sectors on there, or at least engaged in it so that they're getting the information. And we will use all of our networks across 10GM, across GMCVO, across our localities to get that message out. But you're absolutely right, Marilyn. You know, if we want something different, we have to do something different, and that is high on the agenda, because we can't just keep doing the same, because there are huge proportions of individuals across Greater Manchester that don't access AEB. You know, I've got the data that shows it. They don't go anywhere near the job centre. So how do we get them? So it's a fair challenge, and it is something that's top of the agenda, not just for UK SPF, to be fair, Marilyn. I think what we'll do is we'll ensure that we're using the information that we get from the sector to make us smarter and better commissioners.
Sorry, I'm talking on mute there. Thank you, Gemma. Thanks, Marilyn. Afsan, I think you've got your hand up.
Hi, Greg. Thank you. I'm Afsana Desher. I'm Head of Partnerships for the Northwest for the Prince's Trust. Hi, Gemma. I think you know Simon, my boss, so he speaks very fondly of you. Just a couple of quick questions. You mentioned you're gathering evidence base and obviously going to analyse that. And you asked us to contribute to that process. And just a couple of words from you and how you would like that evidence, because obviously, you know, you're going to look and analyze a lot of information. So what sort of evidence are you looking for? I mean, a lot of us obviously do evaluation reports. We've got our own data systems. And the second question is, you mentioned the routes to market and refer to a variety of a mix, grant funding, commissioning. Do you have any idea of what that mix looks like in terms of what proportion will you be grant funding and, you know, the proportionalities of that? Because I imagine there will be quite a diverse way of commissioning.
Thanks, great questions. And to be perfectly honest, it's a really smart question. How do I want that evidence gathering? So at this moment in time, we will structure something with the voluntary sector to gather evidence, and that will be structured, and there will be either a template or something. We need to just make sure that that's clear, because you're absolutely right. I don't want it in 92 different forms, because that's then really difficult. So thank you for flagging that. I will put that at the top of the list. In terms of route to market, the answer is no at the minute, because we have got a little bit of time. We need to understand what's there and what's not there to decide the best route to market. So I wouldn't want to say, oh, 50% is going here, 30% is doing this, because we just don't know yet. Multiply is a little bit further ahead. So for those that are on the chest, keep an eye out in terms of that, and we can share updates via this group, because it has to get going a lot quicker, Multiply, and it has to kind of be ready this year, as opposed to the people and skills core bit under UKSPF doesn't. So Multiply will come out first. Like I say, the targeted bit of Multiply, we will use the evidence and gather, and that, you know, that might be a different model. I genuinely can't say, but we will use the networks, and we will use the chest, and we will use obviously organisations like ERSA as well.
Smashing, thank you, Gemma. And you mentioned there, Gemma, with regards to the chest, have you got any indications around timescales of when you'd be looking to put that out through the FPS or through chest?
No, not at the minute. Like I say, Multiply will be sooner, obviously in an open and fair and transparent way, sooner rather than later. Whereas the others, we will just make sure that it's updated in terms of information. The website around UKSPF on the Gmca, that will be kept updated so that people can get involved, they can ask questions. So I know it's a bit kind of half baked at the minute, and I'm sorry on the core one, but we genuinely do want to understand what we've not got before we start committing to what we're buying and how we're buying it.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Do we have any more questions? Well, thank you very much, Gemma. Much appreciated. Great update, and thank you everyone for the questions. I say a packed agenda, so we'll move swiftly on. So Sharon Wheatman from the Combined Authority is going to give us some GMCA updates. Over to you, Sharon. Thank you.
Hello, fabulous. Good morning, everyone. I've just popped a link in the chat to the GMCA UK SPF webpage. So yeah, as Gemma said, updates on kind of where we're at and what we're doing are kept on there. So I will do the usual screen sharing, and I'm going to do a bit of a whistle stop. Greater Manchester Labour Market update, and also a couple of key projects that we're working on, particularly around youth employment. So I will share the slides afterwards, so you don't have to scribble lots of notes. So just going, brilliant. So in terms of labour market update, I'm sure you've all seen national stats and figures. So this is just a little bit of an update in terms of what do we look like in the Northwest, and most particularly Greater Manchester. So unemployment, we have record lows in terms of unemployment rates. Unemployment rate, so this is for the Northwest, so that was 3.5% in 3 months up to July this year. However, economic inactivity has risen close to pandemic highs, so we were on 23.3%. Obviously, as Gemma said, in terms of looking at some of our programs, we're very conscious as well that within our economically inactive cohorts, there are a high number of people who aren't claiming benefit as well. So we're really trying to focus on engagement activity and understanding what is sort of driving economic inactivity, particularly for some of our over 50s who potentially aren't claiming benefits, but also don't have kind of the financial resilience to kind of keep going, particularly through a cost of living crisis. So really key focus area for us. Said inactivity rates reaching a new high in July, and for the northwest of England, we are fairly significantly higher than the rest of the UK, and that gap does look like it's widening. So a real priority for us to look at those reasons for inactivity and the projects that we've got that can support. Claimant count increases across all parts of GM except for Rochdale. I have just seen some updated figures with a slightly different picture. I think the rate has just gone down in Wigan, but I'm just waiting for those to be finalised. So I've used the latest ones that we've got. But again, claimant counts kind of slightly going up, and you can see there by local authority what that looks like. So kind of 5% of our GM residents are claiming unemployment benefits in August 22. Universal credit continuing to rise, not by huge amounts, but just to note, obviously universal credit includes people who are in work, but is going up slightly in every district across Greater Manchester over the last 3 months. And most interestingly, I think for me, we've got a growing number of claimants who have no work requirements. So the kind of blue line at the top is UC claimants who are searching for work. So you can see that line is going down, and the grey line is UC claimants with no work requirements, and that is going up. So again, kind of aligning with that economic inactivity story, and a real focus for us in terms of understanding that demographic and what is the right support and the right engagement route for all of those people who need support. So quick programs and updates. So obviously for our GM residents who are kind of being impacted by the cost of living crisis that we're currently kind of living through, and directly correlating with those kind of labour market figures. We do have on the GMCA website our Helping Hand page, and what that does detail is details of the GM-wide programmes that are there to support our residents, and also specific offers for each of our 10 local authorities. So if you are supporting people across Greater Manchester who are experiencing difficulties, it's a really useful resource there for you to find the support and the different offers that are available. There is a link in the slide there, but I will pop it in the chat when I finished presenting as well, just so that you've got that for reference. Couple of quick updates on some of our projects. So I think we mentioned last time that we have started a project to look at our youth hubs across Greater Manchester, and how can we create something that builds out of the DWP network, and gets some consistency for our young people, whether they're claiming benefits or not. So we've done some mapping and we've done some analysis, and what we found is that not every one of our local authorities has a youth hub at the moment. Where we do have them, they're not consistent in terms of the offer, the opening times, awareness. A lot of young people not aware that they exist, and we didn't really have any evidence that young people have been involved in the design. So we've had a look at the Impetus Birmingham Blueprint model. We've set up a project group, and we've engaged our GM Youth Network youth panel to have a look at the local offer. So the youth panel did some mystery shopping and gave us a really clear set of recommendations in terms of what they would like to see. I won't read them all, they're on the screen there. But you know, a really clear, we want welcoming spaces. We don't want every partner and provider sitting in there, because that would be quite overwhelming, but we do want access to get referrals and to have a trusted kind of contact point, almost, where I can, you know, he'll check in with me, make sure that, you know, things are happening that I need them to happen, and less structure around times of appointments, etc. So really giving time to kind of build a relationship and make sure that those conversations can happen. So we are co-designing a new model with that youth network and with a wide range of partners. There is a new hub in development with Prince's Trust. Afsana, I know you're on the call today. So we are looking to kind of test in Manchester and also in Leigh, where there is a brand new youth hub just opened. Can we test a different way of delivering our youth hubs and then roll that out across all of Greater Manchester? So we are developing a consistent core offer with access for any young people, whether they're claiming benefits or not. We are linking this work into our emerging care leaver support plan. And I think kind of most importantly, we are working on a kind of shared workforce development plan for anyone who is delivering in a hub, with a real focus on awareness of the different offers and the different things that you can connect young people into, and some shared outcome measures. So put a link in here. I know Laura has just popped it in the chat as well. There is a live survey at the moment across ERSA for anyone who is delivering youth support, is interested in working within the youth hubs. Please do fill that in if you're interested in working with us in Greater Manchester. But equally, you know, if you do want to have a chat about that project and how you can get involved in Greater Manchester, just get in touch. We'd be really happy to talk to you. Excuse me. And linked into that, we are also doing some very specific work around our support for our care experienced young people. So one of our real drives through the Greater Manchester strategy for youth employment is around reducing the gap. So we know that there are key cohorts of young people who are significantly more likely to end up not in education, employment or training, and ultimately unemployed as they progress through their life. Care leavers, fairly significant difference. So for our 16 to 21 year olds, actually, we've got some stats. You know, our kind of NEET levels around about 5 to 6%. It's round about 37% for our care experienced young people. So really big gap that we want to work on reducing. I won't run through these, but we will share them. So we've got a couple of graphs here around that difference. So you can see there for our 17 to 21 year olds. So this was done last year. We are updating at the moment, but around about 47% of our care leavers were not in education, employment or training, and that's, you know, it's an untenable situation, and one that we really want to change. So what we've done so far is we've done some mapping work, and if anyone would like a copy of this document, which we published in June this year, we've engaged with leads across local authority teams, wider partners working in the education, skills and work sector, and specialist providers working to support care leavers. You will notice a gap in here that we don't have within this piece of work, direct engagement with our care leavers. That is underway now because it's the most important voice within this. But what we wanted to do was map, what have we already got? Is it working? We found that we had about 5 different GM-wide plans. They weren't very well connected, and you know, we needed a more robust structure to make sure that we were actually delivering together. So we held a workshop in April this year. We've identified a set of challenges and some key conclusions. So what we noted was there's a lot of provision out there to support our care experienced young people, but not a lot of awareness. Where there's dedicated support, the awareness is better, and our older care experienced young people were tending to get less information, and some of that was around that transition into being eligible for adult support, and you know, did everybody understand kind of how to access that and what was available. So from that piece of work, we have drafted one new plan, which has got focus around voice, data collection, consistency, working with colleges. I don't think that the kind of last few are all around that consistent pathway. So we are doing a workshop tomorrow with our local authority colleagues, training providers, kind of virtual schools, and some of our partners who are already delivering some really exciting support projects and offers. What we are going to do from that is identify what is our plan, who is going to, kind of lead different pieces of work, identify commitments from across the partnership, and also identify our asks to the system. So where we've got barriers around employment, what can our partners do, including our businesses and employers? What can you do? Put your money where your mouth is, kind of thing, to help us. So we will be delivering the plan from that, engaging with our care leavers then to make sure it is the right plan and rolling that out over the next year. So again, anyone on the call today who does have an offer for care experienced young people in Greater Manchester, if you want to get in touch, we'd be really interested to talk to you. And then last but not least, I think the last time we did this session, we were just about to launch our GM Employment Skills Provision Mapping Survey. So thanks to everybody who submitted into that. I think we had about 100, just over 100 different projects, different things happening across Greater Manchester. Do have a full slide deck on this, which I don't have time to go through, but if anybody wants it, happy to share. But just to let you know kind of what we have been doing with that, it has been really useful to help us shape some of our thinking around UK SPF. So where Gemma was talking earlier about some of the data gathering, this is part of what we've been doing to kind of start that process. But what we have been able to do now is, from the responses we got, break down the kind of support that's being delivered by our providers across Greater Manchester in terms of particular cohorts and target groups. We've got a breakdown here of kind of the offers of support for different target groups of residents. We are going to drill into this a little bit more because I will be honest, we have quite a lot of partners who've said, yes, we can support all of these groups. And I think we just want to try and understand if there is a specific bespoke offer or if it's a more universal offer that lots of different people can access. So we'll probably be in touch in the fairly near future just to get a bit more detail from you. But what we have been able to do as well is get a bit more of a stronger understanding of how different offers are actually funded and who's commissioning them. So in the slide there is just a really quick overview of the mixture. I think really interestingly on that you can see the mix for the VCSE sector, lots of different funding streams kind of going in there, where some have more defined one or two funding streams which are potentially easier to manage. So just within that as well, as Gemma said, we are conscious that the people and skills element of UK SPF doesn't start until April 2024. We do have quite a significant drop off of starts across our programmes in kind of March, April time next year, and are really actively looking at what are our options in terms of, as Gemma said, using different funding streams, using different opportunities to make sure none of our residents fall through the gap. I've probably really gone over my time there, but that's a quick whistle stop of everything we're kind of, well, not everything, but our youth focused in particular work in GM, and happy if anyone does want to get in touch to link you into them. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Sharon. Great update. Really interesting around the labour market information and also the update on the youth hubs as well. That was fantastic. Does anybody have any questions for Sharon? We're not going to let her off scot-free, are we? Looks like you've escaped, Sharon. Just a quick one from me then. With regards to the youth hubs, you mentioned the couple of the regions there where you're piloting or trialling. Is the ultimate goal to have a GM youth hub in each of the local authority areas?
Yeah, so what we want to do is have at least one in every one of our local authority areas with that really consistent offer of, it doesn't matter which LA you live in or want to go to the hub, you will get that same core offer. So that's the plan.
Smashing, fantastic. And there's been a couple of requests for the slides. So I think we've got the slide deck from today, but you mentioned the employment and skills mapping provision. If you're able to send those over to Laura and we can get them out again, I think that'd be a really interesting read for this group. So thank you very much for that. Good stuff, right? As I say, packed agenda, so swiftly on. We've now got Timothy Jeffrey from the Grove Company with the United for Ukraine. Timothy, over to you.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah, morning, everybody. Hi, yeah, so just to very quickly introduce myself. So yeah, my name's Tim. I'm one of the partnership managers here at the Growth Company. So here to, just to very briefly talk through an initiative that we've been running in partnership with a number of different organizations called United for Ukraine. I thought rather than doing a PowerPoint presentation, I would just share with you the actual website itself and talk you through it. So hopefully this will work. Hope that's come up. Can everyone see that? Is that on the screen?
Yeah, we can see that. Thanks, Tim.
Fantastic. That's great. Yeah. So, I mean, well, everybody will have seen from just the news in the last couple of days. Sadly, unfortunately, the conflict in Ukraine is still ongoing, and the need for this initiative is more important than ever, really. But since back in kind of March, April time, the Growth Company, in partnership with a number of other organisations, have launched unitedforukraine.org.uk, which is a digital platform, a digital solution to help share employment and support opportunities for anybody from Ukraine who's arriving in the United Kingdom as a result of the conflict. So just going to talk a bit through what the website is, what the offer is, and then some of the successes and outcomes that we've had so far. Anybody can access this site, unitedforukraine.org.uk. We've got two main offers on there. One offer for businesses and the other for Ukrainians who are arriving in the United Kingdom, with particular emphasis on the north of England and on the northwest, really. But for businesses, we're delighted to advertise vacancies on behalf of businesses on here free of charge, and it's really simple for a business to go onto the website and upload a vacancy. If you go on the website, click the section that says for businesses, and then there's just a short online form where we take some information about the vacancies: company name, registration number, contact details, job role, number of vacancies, a few free text boxes for key responsibilities and essential requirements, and then we just ask a few basic screening questions. Do you have an employee assistance package? Can you offer flexible hours around caring commitments? That's quite an important question, because we know really the profile of most of the people who have arrived in the United Kingdom from Ukraine have been women or are people with childcare responsibilities. It is harder for men to leave Ukraine at the moment. Do you currently employ any Ukrainian speaking staff? Are you able to provide accommodation for the role? So that's more for kind of the catering and hospitality sectors. And then will the role include home-based working? So that's obviously something that we need to be aware of or sensitive of, particularly if people are coming into the UK through the Homes for Ukraine scheme, the sponsorship scheme. But as long as the role fits the criteria that we've got, we will happily share the vacancy on our site free of charge. And the main criteria that we have are that the job role is for a minimum of 3 months in duration. We are asking that the job role has to contain salary details, and that they pay at least the real living wage of £10.90 per hour, or the appropriate rate for that job role. We are asking for a contact telephone number, or a way of getting directly in touch with the business. We're not really asking, we don't want people to just be redirected to an external online recruitment portal, and we are at the moment are also not advertising vacancies on behalf of recruitment agencies, but as long as the roles tick all of those boxes, we will host it on this website free of charge. We currently to date have got about 90 different employers advertising on the site, and about 250 vacancies that are on there as of today. In terms of the website itself, we're getting anywhere between about 100 and 200 unique visits per week. We've had over 4,500 visits to the site since we launched earlier in the year, so we're getting some pretty good traction on there. But if you do work with anybody who is from Ukraine, who's arrived in the UK, or then please direct them to this site, and if they click on searchable opportunities for Ukrainians, you can see there's lots and lots and lots of job roles that are on there, and these are all employers who have stuck their hand up and said we are happy to offer positions to people arriving in the UK from Ukraine. So at the moment we've got 23 different pages of jobs on there, and there's a really broad range of vacancies on there, anything from kind of your more entry-level positions all the way up to some quite senior managerial positions on there as well, which could reflect as well the kind of the skills and the backgrounds of a lot of people that are arriving from Ukraine, that are, you know, have been professionals in Ukraine and have a lot of skills that they could offer employers over here. So that is that opportunity that's on there. Please, if you are working with anybody from Ukraine, please direct them to this. But it isn't just searchable job opportunities that we've got on there. There is also a wide range of different further support that people from Ukraine can access on here, and that's mainly broken down into 6 different categories. So there's information on here, firstly about bank accounts. So how to, one of the first things that somebody arriving in the UK will need to look to do is set up a bank account, particularly if they're looking to make an early universal credit claim. There's lots of information on there that takes people directly to most banks have got a dedicated website, web page for Ukrainians on their site now, and that would take people straight through to that. We've got lots of information about provision of ESOL, English as a second or other language, on there that people can access. We've got information about all the local authorities across the north of England, so particularly all the GM local authorities will be on there. Again, most local authorities have set up a dedicated page on their own website to support Ukrainians arriving in their local authority, and that will take you straight through to that. We've got links to a range of different specific refugee support organisations that we've researched and came across throughout all of the north of England, so GM well covered on there. And then I guess the 2 more specific ones for this initiative is links to Ukrainian Orthodox churches. We've tried to do as much research as we can to locate as many of them as possible, but if you do know of any others, we'll happily get them up on the site. And then also Ukrainian community organisations. So these are mainly branches of the Association for Ukrainians in the United Kingdom. They have many branches across GM as well, Bolton, Bury, you know, so yeah, they're all on there. So that's all available for Ukrainians to access on the site, obviously free of charge. It isn't just a website that people can get support from, though. If you click on Get in Touch, we do have a telephone number and an email address, and that goes directly through to one of our Ukrainian support workers who are able to offer help. We're getting probably about 70 to 80 calls a week, and we've noticed a real ramp up in the last couple of months in that demand. We get probably about 40 or 50 emails coming through as well, of people coming to the website and trying to access further support, that phone number and that inbox goes straight through to Mariana and Oksana. They are both themselves Ukrainian, and I guess the advantage is that they can have discussions with people in Ukrainian in their own language. Yeah, we're finding actually really that's in many ways the most popular aspect of the service is the support that they're able to offer through that. Just a couple more things to quickly highlight about the site. I don't know, because I know I don't have a huge amount of time, but we also do have information on there about the right to work requirements for people from Ukraine arriving in the UK, because there can be a bit of confusion around that. So, and this talks through kind of a step-by-step, what will I need to prove that I've got the right to work in the UK? Have I got the right to work in the UK? What's a biometric residency permit? How do I get my national insurance number, right to work share codes and all that stuff? That's all on here. And we do also have a site on here which talks a bit more about all the different partners that we're working with on this initiative. It isn't just the growth company. There's many different organizations that have supported it as well. This whole website as well is can be translated into Ukrainian as well, which is obviously important, but we're just looking for as many different ways to kind of promote this service as possible. We know so directly through the phone line or the email address, we've supported over 600 Ukrainians, and we're aware of about 45 people that have found work directly through this initiative. We're sure there's many more. It's quite hard to track all the outcomes, but it has been really successful so far. But the need is still there. We still need lots of support and lots of help. So please, if you are recruiting or know anybody that's recruiting, please push it. We want to make sure that as many employers are benefiting from the site as possible, and in particular as well, if anybody here is working with anybody from Ukraine that's arrived in the UK, then please signpost them to the site. Happy to answer any questions, but I know we've got a packed agenda, so
Oh, smashing. Thank you for the update there, Tim. And as you say, an absolutely great initiative. Does anybody have any questions for Tim? We are doing well for time, so please don't worry about that. Any questions at all? So it looks like you're going to escape as well, Tim, scot-free.
I'll put the link to the site in the chat so everyone can.
I was going to say, if you can put the link in the site, that'd be fantastic. With regards to, obviously, it's fantastic for job vacancies and searching for jobs, and also a great signposting tool for those that are working with people from the Ukraine. Thinking about other organisations that providers on this call may work with, that they currently signpost to, that aren't currently on the website, can we make a recommendation to you for those to be uploaded?
Please do. Yeah, that's great. I'll put my email address in the chat as well. Yeah, particularly the directory of support organisations. We're always looking to try and build that as much as possible. Getting an organisation up on this website takes a matter of minutes. So yeah, if you do think there's an organisation, anybody on this call, or if you know of anybody that ought to be on the website, then yeah, please let us know and we'll get them on there straight away. Like I say, the demand is growing. We think it's probably at this stage, there's lots of people that maybe arrived throughout, have been arriving throughout 2022 that are now getting to the point where they're starting to think about employment. Again, we're not expecting the conflict to end anytime soon, sadly. So yeah, we want to be in this for the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. And through that directory of services, are there any gaps in provision at all, where maybe we're not as strong in certain areas as we are in others?
I think it's probably ESOL provision I think that's a gap across the board, isn't it? But most people that arrive in the UK have got some level of English. English is taught in schools in Ukraine, but we're signposting to ESOL provision is still a need that we could really help with. And also, I guess the other thing more probably over the next few months is more so going to be support with housing as well. So we know lots of people that have come through the Homes for Ukraine scheme are kind of starting to approach the kind of 6-month point with their sponsor, and there's that question of whether or not they're going to stay with their sponsor, or whether or not, or whether the sponsor's willing to continue that. So our anticipation is that issues regarding housing is going to be something that's going to be more and more on the radar over the coming weeks and months.
Fantastic. Well, I've just had a quick look on who's attending, and we've definitely got some ESOL providers and some housing providers and provision on there. So a shout out to you to link up with Tim and start that collaboration so that we can support this fantastic initiative. Any final shout for any questions for Tim before we move on? Perfect. Thank you very much, Tim. Much appreciated. Swiftly on, we've now got Alex Jones from Seetec to give an update on National Careers Service. Alex, over to you.
Morning, everyone. So let me just move you onto the right screen and swap where my presentation is. There we go. I'm just getting used to a new laptop, so things aren't quite as easy as they used to be. Everyone see that okay?
Yeah, that's come through now. Thank you, Alex.
Smashing. So I'll give you a bit of an update on National Careers. I mean, a lot of what I'm going to say might be familiar. To give a bit of context, National Careers went up for the rebid earlier this year, and it previously was delivered by the growth company, and it's now been taken over by Seetec. So myself and about 80 colleagues have transferred over to Seetec over well, last week was our first day with the new provider. Seetec have got a different approach, slightly different approach to delivering national careers. So I'll give you a run through of what's changed, a lot of which has stayed the same, the delivery model, and then the kind of approach we want to take with partnerships and different ways of working in the community. So I'll run through the service offer, the partners and the geography. We've got a slight change in terms of subcontractor arrangements with National Careers and what is direct delivery. Look at priority groups and engagement, those we really want to target and those who we still can work with but aren't necessarily a priority for us. Look at delivery model and the customer journey. I look at the outcomes. We're measured on 3 different outcomes now rather than the 4 that we were previously. And I'll give you I'll obviously share the slide so you've got the key contacts across the area, but if you are in doubt, then please just come to me at any point with any questions. So the National Careers Service, not to be confused with National Citizen Service. I have to say National Careers, otherwise people, if I just say NCS, get confused. So we're a high quality, impartial, free IAG service to help people making learning decisions or decisions on training and work. National Careers Service is available for all adults in England. We do have priority groups, but anyone aged 19 or over, whatever their skills, qualifications, can access us. We do provide specific advice for different groups. So we've got specialised services for those who are 50 plus, and we have area-based services throughout different times of the day. We're trying to improve the offer for what I would call out of hours provision. A lot of that is currently digital. One of the things we want to move towards is providing more face-to-face service that is either in evenings and weekends. So that's something I'm looking at as a priority at the moment, especially in the sort of the regional hubs like so Liverpool and Manchester. It's a one-stop shop for guidance around learning, training and work. We are integrated with our own AEB provision. We do have some partner organisations already to refer on to. It's a service where, regardless of where people start in places with their careers questions, they can get some support from us. All our advisors are least level 4 qualified, and to provide guidance, we go up to level 6. And we have different approaches depending on people's level of qualifications at the moment. So the initial advisor that most people would see would be a level 4 advisor. And then if you need further, slightly more intensive support, we've moved them over to a level 6 to get that on an ongoing basis. We can provide guidance to younger people. We've got some careers fairs in colleges, especially around Cheshire, over next week. So there is some guidance for them. That complements the education they receive in schools, and that's predominantly provided by the telephone and web chat channels. So that has changed, so we can do some face-to-face more recently. Okay, in terms of the work we do with customers, the thing that most people tend to get referred to us for are CVs. We do CVs, but we do an awful lot more than that. So if people need a CV review, that's absolutely fine. But there's a big long list, and I don't think this is even an exhaustive list of the services we can provide support with. So looking at self-awareness and careers reviews and diagnostics, that's the bread and butter of what most careers appointments will start with, and then take a look at things like career progression, education and funding. We do a lot of work around redundancy support. So we do tend to link in with the job centre on any mass redundancies that are coming up. But if individuals are at risk of redundancy and they haven't been referred, then they can come to us. We can provide specialised guidance around that. We can look at self-employment interviews, disclosure and resettlement, online profiles and social media, so looking at things like LinkedIn or marketing through Twitter, job applications. We do a lot of work with people who've got a specific application they want support with, job searching guidance and advice, labour market intelligence. We have a mandate to deliver up-to-date labour market information to our customers, so that's always available on a regular basis. With apprenticeships for those who are at the younger end of the spectrum. I've mentioned CVs. I'm not going to talk about them a lot. We do review CVs as well. We do a lot of work with employers. So through Seetec, we're linked in with supporting with recruitment. Obviously, Seetec is a fairly big provider, so there's restart provision, Jets. I know that's winding down at the moment. There's still a caseload, and through those there's employer engagement. So we do have an active list of roles that we can help refer people through to. We can support employers with education and funding options. We do careers health checks. So if you're actively working with employers who have got a workforce who need some support with their career or their development, we can offer careers health checks for them. We provide some support around health and well-being, so we can look at existing employees and their work-life balance, and support with upskilling workforces as well. So whilst we do have priority groups, which I'll list in a moment or two, if there are employers or organisations you're working with who have an active workforce who do need some career development, and they want us to plug into that, then we're more than happy to do so. That can include things like taking a career change or people who are looking for promotional opportunities. So there's plenty for us to offer there. I touched on redundancy as well, but we are very flexible in terms of redundancy support we offer. If you are working with organisations where there are mass redundancies, either we can go in and provide some support to people, we can provide remote appointments to people who might not be able to get out of the workplace. We recently supported with McVitie's, and we went on a few different days across a couple of weeks, and saw people on sort of scheduled rota breaks, to give them a little bit of guidance about where they could go, what jobs might be suitable for them. So we're very flexible. We can go out to people. We can provide support remotely if that's not necessarily an option. We cover a really broad geography. So my role as the operations manager is all the direct delivery that Seetec has. So my patches: Cheshire, East and West, Warrington, Halton, Wirral, Manchester, Bolton, Bury, Wigan, Trafford, Liverpool, Sefton, Knowsley, East Lancashire and Salford East. So I get out and about quite a bit. So that is a fairly big patch. We have subcontractors for quite a significant portion of that. They constitute about 45–50% of the overall delivery. So we've got Blackburn with Darwen Council. Some of these are our existing partners who came over from the previous contract with the growth company. Some of them are new. Blackburn and Darwen is one we've worked with for a long time on that NCS. We've got 4 Housing who are newer: Inspirer, Oldham Council, Rochdale Council, Stanguide, St Anthony's Centre covered Trafford and a little bit of Salford as well. And St Helens Chamber and the Youth Federation. We are obviously overlapping with some of them in those areas. So if you're in doubt about who to contact, again, the first person, if you're in doubt, is probably me. I'll share some details about our integration and partnership managers at the end of this. So if you're working predominantly in one of those areas, you can get in touch with those partnership managers, and they can facilitate a meeting with them to take that work a little bit further forward. The priority group customers that we have, so at the younger end of the spectrum, we've got 18 to 24-year-olds, NEETs. So we're really open to working with any colleges where people are at risk of people dropping out, or people who aren't continuing with their education, to pick those people up. We've got some conversations going on with University of Salford to address some people in that bracket with them. We can look at low-skilled adults with that level 3 qualification. Adults who've been unemployed for more than 12 months, single parents with 1 dependent child living at home, adults with special educational needs, and adults over 50 who are unemployed or at demonstrable risk of redundancy. That's obviously quite a broad number of people. A lot of the customers that we've historically seen on the National Career Service tend to fall into a priority group. They are the groups that we are, slightly higher. They generate a slightly higher payment for us in terms of delivery. we will categorize other customers non-priority, but it doesn't necessarily mean we don't prioritize seeing them. Everyone who approaches us is perfectly reasonable and eligible to have an appointment, and we will see everyone regardless. They're just the groups that if we're working on mass projects and we're taking staff off with the delivery, that would probably take a little bit of precedent in us, coming out and developing an ongoing arrangement. The approach to engagement we're taking at the moment this is where I think there's the most area of change with National Careers Service with Seetec, as opposed to what was more recently in place with the growth company. We've done a lot of work with the job centre. That will continue because it tackles the priority group need and really provides service to those customers who are at most a dire need of some kind of careers guidance and often a little bit of a change in direction. So we are still working very closely with Dave Taylor and Colette over in Liverpool City region on the work we do with JCP. We've got a much clearer stakeholder engagement strategy. I guess today's a big part of that. I know the integration team have been fairly pivotal in setting this up today. So we are looking to engage with other community-based delivery around all the regions we operate in. We're looking at new partnerships and collaborations. We are really pushing at the work we do at things like careers fairs, whether they be at colleges, university, whether they be the sort of more commercially run careers fairs, to make sure that we're collaborating, we're more visible. I think we've been a service that's almost hidden for a number of reasons. So we're driving out at those community-based partnerships. It's really important for the way we're monitored, for us to have quite strategic arrangements around data and intelligence sharing. That helps us understand the customer groups that we're seeing, and it also helps make sure that we're recording that activity and we're meeting the needs that are set out for us by the DFE. We're also looking at making sure we're integrating into any reviews that local authorities might want to have. We're quite keen to set KPIs with partners on the programme, both to drive our delivery and to make sure there's kind of quite a robust arrangement between any referring partners and organisations and ourselves, so that any arrangements are of mutual benefit. So we're held to a clear standard on any delivery that we agree to do. So that's the outline we've got there. I won't go through the customer journey. I think that this looks like the internal diagram of a cell or something at the moment, so it's incredibly confusing. It does make sense if you really get down to the bare bones of it. I'll send the slides through so you can analyse that in your own time. This makes a lot more sense. So this slide here links to this slide here, and this one explains in plain English roughly what each part of that customer journey means. Marketing and outreach, I think I've touched on enough. Effectively, that's the through flow into the programme is any marketing and outreach that we do. The first point that a customer really will have contact with us is engagement and triage. The next slide gives a bit more detail on this actually, but the engagement and triage is effectively the booking and triaging system through either the first contact team that we have, so the 0800 number, which I'll flash up in a moment, or any localised arrangements we have around booking. We are looking on an online booking system similar to the one that used to exist with the growth company, to make this a little bit more simple. Once someone's needs have been triaged, the vast majority of people will end up seeing an advisor. They'll work with an advisor on any personalised needs that they have, but every customer will end up with an action plan, so a career and skills action plan, a CSAP for short, and any other outcomes that were agreed with the customer, whether that's a revised CV or support an application, whatever that might be. And as part of that action planning, there'll be agreement about some ongoing support and progression. It might not be something for every customer, but there will be an arrangement where that initial advisor keeps in touch with someone for a period of about 4 weeks to support them through whatever agreed stages they've been in that action plan. And beyond that, there'll be work with a progression advisor. So again, this is a newer part of the model. That's where those level 6 advisors take over and will arrange monthly progress reviews as a minimum with customers on an ongoing basis. So case loading customers to help them through progression, whether that be onto a learning outcome or a job outcome, or something else that's agreed with the customer as an outcome measure for them personally. And then after the 12 months, they exit the programme. Hopefully they've had an outcome within that period of time, but that would be the point that they could effectively go back through the process again if they wish to have another initial appointment with an advisor and another sort of reassessment, as it were. Talked about outcomes. There are 3 types of outcomes. The first is the career management outcome. This is the one that really all customers should expect to receive. So this is the arrangement where they have a customer appointment with an advisor. There are some arranged activities, some agreed activities, part of an action plan. So that's our first outcome measure. Then there are job outcome measures and learning outcome measures, which we abbreviate as JLOs, which I still find amusing after nearly a year. So a job outcome is, as it sounds, it's a job outcome. The slight change to the new contract is that an outcome can constitute more than one job, be constituted from more than one job. So we're measured on a minimum of 16 hours a week, but that could be 2 different roles. There's also a measure on there on career progression. So if there are customers who are coming to us who are already in work, we can claim a job outcome from someone who we've supported to go into a promotional opportunity, an increase in earnings, a career change. So that's a slight change for us as well. And I think it makes much more sense in terms of us engaging with those customers who are already in work, who aren't necessarily fitting into one of the natural priority groups that we have. And lastly is the learning outcome. So any qualification listed on the Ofqual register, those qualifications must link to a customer's personal situation, but they can be anything off the Ofqual register that we can claim at that point. I say we do have access to quite a significant amount of funding at the moment, both through sort of internal provision that Seetec has, AEB, and other things that have been budgeted for in the initial bid. So there's lots of opportunity to refer customers to learning outcomes that fit their requirements. Again, I have touched on the referral processes. So there are effectively 3 types of referral. So there's referrals that have just come to us through the 0800 number. So that's anyone getting in touch with NCS will ultimately be routed through the phone lines and the booking lines to our contact centre, the Seetec contact centre. We do cover the Southwest as well, so there's quite a big team there to take calls. They'll be then filtered through the right person in the right area to make sure they see the right person. JCP referrals, we are still really closely linked with JCP. At the moment, JCP are booking through the same phone line. They do have an extra option on the phone line to sort of fast track that. We are piloting a new online booking system with JCP at the moment. That's currently a review with their internal security team, and if that works, and I don't see any reason it wouldn't do at this point, then we'll roll that out more broadly to JCP, and I think it's something we probably would adopt for other partners as well. Once we've kind of done a little bit of training with them on that, and there's a third option at the moment. So stakeholders and partners at the moment, again, we'll have to use the booking line, but we are happy to make localized arrangements if there's groups of people that we're seeing or more suitable things that would work on the ground. There are 3 types of appointment as well at the moment. The overriding preference for us really would be to see customers face to face. We've had a very mixed approach for quite a long time. I think partly because of COVID, it's taken us quite a while to get used to going back into the community. But it is a big drive for us to be more visible back in the community, back to seeing people. So face-to-face appointments will overwhelmingly take the precedence for us at the moment. But we do recognise there are people who, for a number of different reasons, can't necessarily see us in person, and I think that is again mostly those people who are already working or in a position where they're in education and can't necessarily come out and see us. So in those cases, we are able to offer telephone support and virtual appointments either through Teams or Skype or other arrangements. We've got at the moment a slightly limited digital offer. Towards the end of the month, we've got quite a few new starters, and we're going to be moving forward with I think a digital focused team to do a lot of that engagement. So we've got a centralised service for anyone who's not able to come to see us, and as I said as well, we are looking at making sure that we've got evening and weekend coverage on that team, and with some of the face-to-face delivery to make sure that we're giving a provision to anyone who wants that National Career Service advice regardless of their current circumstances. Quickly flash up the key contacts. That's more so when I send the slides around, you've got them. But Amy Carlton's the director for both the Northwest and the Southwest. That's who I report into. There's me, so the Ops Manager for the Northwest, Claire Fennell, Tracy Harmer and Jackie Wilkinson. So between them, those 3, they're the business managers for the Northwest area. Broadly speaking, Jackie is covering East Lancs, Tracy, Manchester and Cheshire, and Clare is the Liverpool City region predominantly. There's a little bit of overlap in those three areas, sorry, just to make geographical sense for the managers. And then I mentioned also the supply chain lead and the supply chain manager is Karen Sellers and Mark Gibson for the Northwest as well. So if you're in need of approaching one of the subcontractors mentioned, they would be your first port of call. Brilliant. I'm not famously good at keeping to time, and I have no idea how long I waffled on for there, so I apologise if that took ages. If there are any questions, I'm more than happy to take them.
No, that was great. Thank you. There's a couple of questions. I think Sharon's posted one on the chat. So is there a main link contact for GM or is it a mix?
It is in short, it is a mix really. If you're, I think the best thing to do is get in touch with me. If you drop me an email, we can talk about what it is, what provision you want, and where we're best linking in. It might be that we initially put you in touch with probably Tracy and me to talk about the bits of Manchester that we do cover, and then maybe make introductions to the subcontractors as well to cover any other areas or overlaps.
Fantastic, thank you. We did have a hand up, but it's popped down, so I'll read a couple more out from the chat. So Rachel Kemp, does the National Career Service still provide qualification equivalency?
Yes.
There we go.
Yes, it's the short one to that. Yeah, we can do that. That's not a problem. And where do we carry out face-to-face appointments? That's a really good question at the moment. I actually don't know the answer to that in Manchester. We thought, well, so I've been with Seetec for 7 days. I thought we had an office in central Manchester where we were going to be able to carry out appointments. It turns out because of some contractual problems with the contract being delivered from that office, we can't. So there's another smaller office that I need to do a recce on this week. So at the moment, that is a bit of a challenge. The face-to-face work we're doing at the moment is predominantly in the job centre. We do some of the work in community partner venues. So in East Lancs, we work in quite a few libraries and other public spaces. The same in Liverpool City region. We've got some partnerships in colleges where we're able to do provision. So people are happy to come and see us in those places. We can do that. The situation I want to move to extremely quickly really is having centralised offices where people can come and visit us if they're not job centre claimants or they're not, in education, or where we don't need to make those arrangements. So I will have to come back to you on that with those, those arrangements with those locations when they're fixed in. But that is a really high priority at the moment. My email address is on the slides, Sharon, so that will be shared around. I hope I'll email those over to Greg.
Yeah, perfect. We'll get those slides out with the rest of the pack via ERSA, and as Alex said, there's contact details in all of them. Anybody, any more questions at all for Alex? No, perfect. Well, thank you very much, Alex. Much appreciated. So I believe Leah Adams is next on the agenda, but I don't think Leah is joining us. So we'll do a quick shout out. Leah, going once, going twice, sold. So we'll move swiftly on to Elizabeth Taylor from ERSA for some wonderful ERSA updates, please.
Okay, yes. First of all, the ERSA conference is on the 30th of November and the 1st of December at the Library of Birmingham. And on the evening of the 30th, we've got the Employability Awards ceremony. I hope everybody is going to be there. I think the really important thing to say about this conference is there is content there for staff at all levels in all organisations. So we're really encouraging everyone to attend, have a really big employment support gathering. On the back of it, we want to have some really strong messages that we have the answers for current issues, whether it's refugees from Ukraine, cost of living crisis, in work progression, obviously getting people into work in the first instance. If you feel that you deliver something that the rest of the sector should know about, please offer to do a workshop. And you should have had an ERSA mailing with the 8 themes that we're covering, but it's a beautiful venue with lots of good workshop space. We want it to be a really positive event about where the sector's up to. So please come along and join us. Other things to say, we've got many ERSA events planned. We've got one at 4 o'clock today about supporting refugees into employment. I know we've just talked about that with the presentation from Growth Company, but this is a joint event that we're doing with Beam, and we're doing a follow-up to it in November. I think we're just going to confirm that date later. So please join us if you can at 4. We've already got over 300 attendees, and fingers crossed that we're not going to crash Teams as we used to do in 2020, but I think it's got more capacity now. So those are the big headlines. If you're involved in youth hubs, please let us know at Policy at ERSA. If you want to set up a youth hub, please let us know at Policy at ERSA. Worth saying, the next Employer Engagement Forum has got a real focus on youth and jobs. So if you've got anything innovative going on in that space, please let us know at Policy at ERSA. I think that's enough of an update for now. So back to you, Greg.
Fantastic. Thank you, Elizabeth, and brought us right back on schedule. So thank you very much for that. Much appreciated. Now the bit everybody's been waiting for, so our provider networking session. So this is back by popular demand. We have previously trialled breakout rooms and virtual roundtables, but this definitely seems the most effective and efficient way. So it's the 90-second pitch. So we had feedback, fantastic feedback, the last couple of forums we've done it. So we are going to be doing it again. We've had so far 8 organisations that have submitted a slide. So Laura's got those slides. So we'll work through those 8 organisations. So just a reminder for anyone that is new to this, you've got 90 seconds. We are on the clock. And those that have experienced this before, I am very strict on those 90 seconds. So if you do go over, unfortunately, I am going to have to cut you off. But a great opportunity for you to update and promote your services across GM. So Laura's controlling the slides. Something's come up on mine which says reload. So I'm not sure whether everyone else can see that. But hopefully we've got the same running order as Laura has got slides. So I've got, first up is Amy Thwaites, and Amy is Programme Manager from Breaking Barriers. Have we got you, Amy?
Hello, this is Laura. Sorry, we just had a last minute change. Amy's had to go off. So what I'm going to do for Amy is just share a link that we've put up for their service, for the Breaking Barriers. So hopefully we're now in the right order.
No problem.
So there's Amy's link.
If you're sharing, I can't see the slides. I've just got the reload that I think other people were experiencing earlier. So we will just carry on, and any slides that people may have missed, we can share afterwards. So next up, we've got Leanne Williams. Leanne is the Deputy Director of Enable Works. So Leanne, 90 seconds on the clock. Away we go.
Hi, sorry, it's actually myself, it's Ashley Ryan, I'm the Director at Enable Works, just to confuse you and waste 10 seconds. My name's Ashley, I'm the Director at Enable Works. We are doing a pitch today in order to speak to other like-minded organisations. We are the largest specialist provider of skills, employability and training in Scotland. And as you can see, we're part of the Enable Group, founded in 1954 by 5 parents of children who had learning disabilities. Next slide. And what we're looking to do today is just have a conversation with like-minded organisations in order to speak to you about our current provision. We deliver £11 million worth of employability skills and training across Scotland and from 2023 in Northern Ireland to over 5,500 people each year. We have a particularly successful supported employment model which delivers 45% job outcomes consistently across Scotland and an 82% sustainment rate. And we'd be really interested in speaking to other organisations because we lead some of the largest consortiums in Scotland. So really interested in that model we were talking about earlier around how voluntary sector organisations can lead that provision, supporting those most at risk from unemployment. So any like-minded organisations we'd be keen to speak to.
Fantastic. There we go. With 9 seconds to spare. If anyone wanted a best practice example of how to do it, that was it. So thank you very much. So next up, and excuse any mispronunciations, but we've got Mohsin Rajani, who's the CEO for Homeless to Wellness. Mohsin, are you there? think you're on mute if you're at the top. Is that you?
Yeah.
There we go. Your 90 seconds.
Hi, yeah, we're Homeless to Wellness Limited. The brand is changeahead.org.uk. That's changeahead.org.uk. And what we are is a digital platform that brings all the support services one might need at the moment of crisis. That's employment, housing, education, training, food, mental health. But it brings it all to the surface, all the wonderful charities, volunteers and support groups to work to help enable some successful outcomes. We're working with lots of housing provision right now. One of our clients has got 1,800 homes, another one's got 850, and we're actually helping them build virtual farms on there as well, looking at solar, renewable energies and wind. That way, there's education and training, but in a more holistic type of way. And it's a digital platform, and it's national. Anyone can link with us, join our newsletter, and from there we can help you guys, whoever it is, with our team of volunteers, digital volunteers, who will be more than happy to help to take things forward as you require.
Fantastic.
So we are your digital friends.
There we go, Mohin, with 2 seconds to spare. We thought we couldn't get any better, and then we've gone and trumped it. So thank you very much for that. Please do get in touch. Next up, we've got Jane Garner, Head of Integration at Ingis. Jane, over to you.
Thanks, Greg. Hi, everybody. A bit of an update for Ingis in Greater Manchester. So I won't read through the programmes that we deliver in GM. They're on the screen there, but at the moment, across our employability programmes in Greater Manchester, there's more than 20,000 participants on our caseloads at present. We're always looking to partner with organisations who can support unemployed people into lasting and meaningful work. So we have an existing referral platform that we use with partners, which makes receiving referrals really simple and straightforward. And we're also looking at how we can use our performance fund to develop some innovative pilots across GM to look at particular areas and problems. Just to touch on anything that's new and really interesting conversation today, but things that we really feel are emerging for the caseloads at the moment is definitely the cost of living crisis. We're seeing now that participants are either hesitant about taking up work or are refusing to take up work and come away from the safety net of benefits and any additional grants or things that they may be entitled to. And that's causing some real hesitancy in starting jobs. The labour market, really interesting at the moment. We've seen a 40% increase in the available vacancies over the last 3 months, and we're coming into that peak recruitment period. So really, really important for us to partner with organisations that can help people to get the skills to enable them to take up the jobs that are available right now. Email details are on the screen and I'll put it in the chat.
There we go, smashing. Thank you very much, Jane. Got it in there. Thank you very much. Next up, we've got Neil Partridge, Technical Director at Manchester Innovation Activities Hub. Neil, your 90 seconds.
Yeah, good morning. Nice to meet everyone. MIA is headed by Dr. Madeline Comrie, who you met earlier on the question session. We work in partnership with the Blair Project, who teach young people to convert petrol go-karts into electric go-karts. MIA was conceived from an idea Madeline had at the frustration of workspace in Manchester to innovate and skill up the people of Manchester. So the picture there shows you the MIA facility, which is in the Manchester Science Park, opening in 2023. 25,000 square foot of dedicated industrial maker space, workshops and training rooms and incubation spaces. So on the next slide, you'll see what MIA is about. We're about skills training, so electrification skills for the journey to net zero, innovation, so supporting SMEs with ideas to bring new products to market and support with our engineering team, and a showcase for technology to make sure everyone knows what the future is and to support the journey to the industrial revolution. At the moment, we're in a position to deliver electric vehicle boot camps. So we're delivering for the DWP, and we're also delivering boot camps for the Grove Company. This is at our electric vehicle workshop, which is over in Hume. The request we have is for partners to reach out to us to either provide the talent pipeline to bring people onto the courses, or to support us with career pathways for the people who are on the courses. So the next slide has got my contact details.
There we go. Neil's contact details on the line. Sorry, Neil, I had to cut across there to give everyone the same opportunity, but thank you for that. And please do get in touch with Neil. And if you want to put your email address in the chat box as well, as others have done, that would be great.
Yeah, thank you.
Next up is Suleiman Ali, Employee Relations Manager at People Plus.
Hi everyone, thanks. Great to meet everyone today. So I'm Suleiman, or Sule. I'm the Employee Relations Manager, so I cover GM. So part of kind of my role is local employer engagement. So I work with local employers to build those relationships, those networks, so we can provide those guaranteed interviews at the end of our programs and courses. So we do have a skills provision. So we have the adult education budget, which manages the courses that we run. So we've run construction courses, door supervisor, we do business admin. So all the courses are for 19 plus, and we provide the guaranteed interviews at the end of our programs, and that's where kind of my role comes in. So I'm like the link between the learner and the employer, and I make sure that they go through that process. We do take referrals for the courses that we deliver, so somebody can self-refer them themselves through social media. We have live adverts on Facebook, and then we get referrals through the DWP, JCPs locally, as well as other referral partners. So today, and you know, if anybody is interested in referring anyone or wants to have a conversation with me, then just obviously give me a shout. My email address, I did post it in the chat earlier, and also any employers that would like to come on board, and there's no cost involved for the employers that we work with as well. It's all a great kind of partnership opportunities to get more people into employment. Thanks.
Thank you very much appreciated. Next up we have Shahid Ramzan from Stanguide.
Hi, I'm Shahid. I'm standing in for Aaron Hamilton-Williams, the Business Development Manager. He's a bit under the weather today after his fourth COVID job. We're Stanguide, established in 1990, been around for over 30 years, delivering all kinds of provisions across England, Scotland and Wales, including the GMCA devolved adult education budget across Greater Manchester. We're Disability Confident Level 3 leader, mindful employer, invested in people, and Matrix accredited as well. I think Alex mentioned it on his list for National Career Service, so any providers who have participants requiring CVs and that kind of similar type of service, speak to the partnership manager, or you can speak to Aaron Hamilton-Williams. We also deliver the individualised placement and support alongside the NHS, co-locating in their premises in Cheshire. Kind of place then train model, primarily mental health, but many service users are on the autism spectrum. Like I say, we work on site with the NHS clinical teams. We support participants into work within short periods of time, and we work quite closely with employers, making reasonable adjustments and helping with access to work, funding, etc. We also provide support, advocacy and systematic instruction where required, so they can actually sustain that kind of work. We provide multiple provisions for DWP, including DPS, which is my job. I'm the lead on the dynamic purchasing system, including kind of cohort-specific autism provisions in Black Country, Dorset, Greater Manchester, West Yorkshire, south of Tyne, southwest Wales, and I think.
Thank you, Shahid. I have to stop you there. The 90 seconds are up, but if you want to put any more detail into the chat and your contact details, much appreciated. And as you were shooed in at the last minute, you did a fantastic job. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Next up, we've got Afsana, Head of Partnerships at the Princess Trust. Afsana, over to you.
Thanks, Greg. Hi everyone. So it's my first meeting to this to this lovely gathering. I'm Afsana Lashow. I'm head of partnerships for the Northwest. I took up this role about a month ago. So my details are there. Just very quickly, we were asked to sort of give you an idea of what our current priorities are and what we're working on. So if you could just, that second slide. So I'm not going to sort of go into the stats too much. So our two key priorities, just to sort of let everyone know. The Prince's Trust has been working on a very innovative program called Future Workforce Fund in partnership with GMCA. That just concluded in September. I've put some stats there, and some of you will be familiar, but those of you who are not, it was a particular, very, very sort of special type of relationship we have with GMCA, supporting young people across the 10 boroughs. And over that period, I just want to pick out a few highlights. We've been supporting young people, just over 6,000 and 7,500 interventions over that period. One of the things I do want to highlight that might be relevant is that we particularly have learned and done something innovative around commissioning. We've been working with 25 partners on the ground in GMCA and commissioning them to provide original services, to deliver services. And we've also done quite a lot of capacity building and supporting them, and that investment is around about 1.5 million. So what we're doing now, just very quickly, is I'm actually working on the legacy planning, and what that basically means is that along with our partners in GMCA, we're actually looking at what's been working well, what hasn't, what we want to take forward. So I'm working on that at the moment.
Thank you,
and
Afsana. We'll have to stop you there to make sure it's fair for everyone else. Thank you very much for that. Again, if you want to pop your details in the chat and people can continue that conversation with you. And we have got next up Matt Meller, Programme Manager for the North for Volunteer It Yourself.
How you doing, everyone? Lovely to join you. Really quickly, Volunteer It Yourself is volunteering in DIY. We work with 14 to 24-year-olds across the UK, regionally and nationally. We're currently working with GMCA and LCB, Lancashire County Cricket Board, on 30 projects that we're going to deliver over the next 3 years, working with deprived areas on cricket clubs. So everything I've heard today, I feel we can take a little part and work together. An email for you I'll drop in is matt@teamviy.com. Basically, what we could do is we can support young people with the opportunity to go into employment and seek really valuable opportunities with colleges and employers. So by volunteering, they're going to get the opportunity to gain a level 3 accreditation, City and Guilds registered, which could be that opportunity to get them into college. Some of these young people don't know where the next step is coming from and their opportunity, and we give them that platform by volunteering. It's really rewarding, and like I say, we've got projects running in October, December, November, December, and then next year, and for the next 2 years. So again, I'd love to sort of connect with everyone and find out how we can sort of work together to support these young people with this brilliant opportunity.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Matt. Much appreciated. That was the final one and a great way to end. So thank you for that. So hopefully those that didn't put the hands up to do it this time, see what it's all about, and will be interested in doing it next time, a very effective and efficient way to get your details across for everyone to see. So thank you for those that did take part. Again, much appreciated. And if I did have to cut anybody short, I do apologise. So that brings us nicely onto any other business. I didn't want to pinch a 90-second slot in case we were full, but as we have got a little bit of time, I just wanted to know that Seetec are looking for partners for the upcoming DWP Access to Work Holistic Assessments programme. So if you've got previous experience delivering access to work or previous experience delivering holistic workplace assessments, we have got an expression of interest out, which you can access through our partnership opportunity portal or the link through ERSA, or please feel free to contact me directly as well. So not quite 90 seconds, but I thought I would use that opportunity as we are running well for time. There's lots happening in the chat box, so please keep your eye on that and everybody's contact details. Does anybody else have any other business or anything else that they would like to share? Good. Well, hopefully everyone will agree it's been a really great forum again, really interactive, lots of information, lots of great updates. As we said, Laura will be sharing the slides out from all the presentations, so everyone will have those slides and the relevant contact details where they need. We do deliver these forums quarterly, so the next one is likely to be in the new year, given we're moving towards midway October. So a very similar format. We're possibly looking to theme the next one, and a theme maybe around digital. So again, if you're doing anything innovative or anything across GM within the digital space, please feel free to get in touch with myself or Sharon Wheatman from the Combined Authority, or directly to Laura at ERSA, and we can look to get you on the agenda. Before we go, does anybody have any questions? Smashing. Well, we do always like to give people a little bit of time back. If you're anything like me, you have probably got a 12 o'clock meeting, so an opportunity now just to stretch those legs, get yourself a nice warm brew, and gear up for the next one. But thank you very much for everyone's contributions, great presentations, and thank you again to all the speakers and everyone that presented today. Enjoy the rest of the week. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.